All right, welcome to our series on the product lifecycle. We're kicking things off with, honestly, the most critical part, product discovery. This is the stage where amazing products get their start. And, just as importantly, where bad ideas get stopped in their tracks before they burn through tons of time and money. So what's the secret sauce? How do the best product teams nail this? Let's dive in and find out. So here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the basics. What even is product discovery? Then we'll get into the detective work of uncovering the real problem. After that, we'll talk about turning that problem into a solid hypothesis, crafting user stories your team can actually use, and finally, we'll wrap up with a playbook you can take with you. Okay, first up, what is product discovery? I love this subtitle here. Why building the right thing matters more than building the thing right. Because really, that's the whole ballgame. It's the difference between creating something people can't live without versus something that just, collects digital dust. So let's start with a question that probably keeps a lot of us up at night. Why do so many products fail? I mean, even when you have a rock star team of engineers, amazing designers, a solid budget, and the product just completely misses the mark. What's going on there? Well, it almost always comes down to a critical mistake made way at the beginning. And here is that classic mistake. You've got these two big phases, right? Discovery and delivery. So many teams get so excited about building that they jump straight into delivery. They focus all their energy on building the thing right. Writing clean code, making it fast, bug-free, but they completely skip the discovery phase, which asks the much more important question. Are we even building the right thing to begin with? It's a huge difference. So this is what product discovery is all about. It's the process of getting a super deep understanding of your customers' problems so you can be sure you're building something they actually need and will, use. Think of yourself as a detective. Your job isn't to invent cool features out of thin air. It's to become the world's leading expert on your customer's specific problem. You have to prove it's a real problem, that it's painful, and that they'd actually pay attention to a solution. Okay, so you've got your detective hat on. How do you actually start digging to find that real problem? This part is all about looking past the symptoms to find the true cause. It's about learning to hear what users mean, not just what they say. Now, this quote from Clay Christensen is probably one of the most famous examples of this. The story goes that McDonald's was trying to boost their milkshake sales, so they did all the obvious stuff. They asked customers what they wanted, made the milkshakes richer, offered more flavors, dropped the price, and nothing. Sales didn't budge. The reason? They were asking all the wrong questions. They never asked the most important one. What job is this milkshake being hired to do? And it turns out the job was for early morning commuters on a long, boring drive to work. They needed something that would last the whole trip, was easy to handle with one hand on the wheel, and just gave them something to do. Suddenly, the milkshake wasn't competing against other milkshakes. It was competing against bagels, donuts, bananas. And that is the whole idea behind the jobs to be done framework. You stop focusing on your product and start focusing on the customer's goal, on the job they're trying to get done. Here's another super simple but seriously powerful tool for your toolkit, the 5 whys. It's exactly what it sounds like. A user says something like, I need an export button here. Instead of just adding it to the backlog, you ask, okay, why do you need that? And whatever they say, you ask why again and again. By the time you get to that 4th or 5th why, you're almost guaranteed to have gotten past the surface level request and down to the real root problem. All right, so you've put in the work, you've uncovered the real problem, you know the root cause. What's next? Well, you can't just walk over to your engineering team and say, I have a hunch. You need to get organized. You need to document what you found and turn it into a clear, testable hypothesis. And this is where we create what we call discovery artifacts. These are just the documents that capture all your research. You've got things like user personas, which give your customer a face and a name to build empathy across the team. You've got user journey maps, which let you see their entire experience step by step and pinpoint exactly where things are going wrong. All of this work funnels into a crystal clear problem statement, and from there, you can finally write a solid hypothesis. Something like, we believe that if we build this feature for this type of user, it will result in this outcome. But wait, what if your discovery work uncovers like 5 different problems, or 10? This happens all the time. You can't solve everything at once, so you have to make a choice. And this is a huge part of being a PM. How do you decide which problem gets tackled first without it just being about who argues the loudest? You use a framework. A really popular one is called RICE. It's a fantastic way to bring some objectivity to the conversation. For every potential idea, you score it on 4 things. Reach, how many people will this actually affect? Impact, how big of a deal is it for those people? Confidence, how sure are we about our estimates? And effort, how much work is this going to be for the team? You multiply the first 3 and divide by the effort, and boom, you have a score that helps you compare apples to apples. It's way better than just going with your gut. We're now at the last mile of product discovery. This is the crucial handoff. You've identified a real problem, you've prioritized a solution, now you have to translate all that great strategic work into clear instructions that your team can take and run with. And the primary tool for that is the user story. It's a really simple way to frame a requirement from the user's point of view. You've probably seen the format. As a type of user, I want to do something so that I can achieve some benefit. What's so great about this is that it forces you to always anchor the work in user value. It's not about add a drop-down menu. It's about, as a new user, I want to easily find my settings so I can customize my experience. The why is built right in.
But just having that user story isn't quite enough. There's a huge risk of playing a game of telephone, where the idea in your head gets a little bit lost when you explain it to the designer, and then a little bit more lost when they explain it to the engineer. We need a way to define what done looks like with absolute clarity. And that's where BDD comes in.
BDD stands for Behavior-Driven Development, and it's a super simple format for writing acceptance criteria. Think of it like a recipe. Given some starting condition, when the user does something, then this specific thing should happen. It's written in plain English, so everyone, PMs, developers, QA, is on the exact same page about how a feature is supposed to behave. Let's look at a really clear example. Scenario: user signs up. Given John is on the registration page, when he enters all the required fields, then a LinkedIn account is created. See? There's zero ambiguity there. The developer knows exactly what to build, and the tester knows exactly what to check for. It just cuts out so much confusion.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground, from the big picture philosophy of discovery all the way down to the nitty-gritty of writing user stories. So let's pull all this together into a simple playbook you can use.
First, let's talk about what not to do. These are the classic traps that so many of us fall into. Number 1, falling in love with your solution before you've even confirmed the problem is real, or not actually talking to users and just guessing what they want. A big one is fixing the symptom instead of the real disease. Writing vague stories is another classic. And maybe the biggest mistake of all is thinking discovery is a one-and-done thing. It's not. It's a continuous mindset. So if you're going to remember anything, remember this flow. 1, start by understanding the user's job to be done. 2, use techniques like the 5 whys to find the actual root cause. 3, document everything and use a framework like RICE to prioritize your efforts. And 4, write crystal clear BDD user stories so your team knows exactly what to build. And that final step, handing off those user stories, is the perfect cliffhanger for part 2 of our series, Product Delivery. Now that we've figured out what to build, we're going to look at how teams actually build it, how they take those stories and turn them into a real working product. So I'll leave you with a little bit of homework. Think about a product you're working on, or maybe just an idea you've been kicking around. What's the very first user problem you're going to investigate using these techniques? Get started on that, and thanks so much for joining me.